Greetings Tauva, and greetings to all. I'm going to do a video today based on a couple of events that I've been to over the last couple of months, and I wanted to kind of highlight a few key things. Number one is a list that I've been using to some great success and building real good consistency with it. Two, I'm going to talk about high-level competitive events that have really challenged me over the last 3 months and helped me progress as a player, to help and inspire others out there that are either already going to competitive events or thinking about going. And the third one is I'm going to kind of give you a special rundown of the most recent event, which has been the Oxford Super Major, and go kind of round by round and give you kind of almost like a breakdown of those games to help you going against some of these meta armies. Now, we're in a kind of an interesting spot with 40k because it's just before a balanced data slate, so lots of things are going to change. And I think when I think about competitive 40k and preparing for events, you can kind of get a little bit lost in trying to predict everything, trying to make the perfect list. So I'm going to try to kind of highlight a couple of things that you can do without focusing, or shall we say confusing yourself by looking at all the data and trying to figure out how to beat every single faction. But no fear, the list that I've got and the list that I've been doing very well has honestly performed extremely well into some of the most top meta armies, because I have created a Tau version of a stat checklist that people are extremely frustrated to play against. So, the good news, this list is going to, spoilers, it's going to fit perfectly into the new Codex, and even with points changes, the concept is still going to remain the same. So without further ado, let's have a look at some of these events that I've been to. Now, these are run by the UKTC, and obviously that's in the UK, but a lot of tournament organisers are using the terrain pack overseas, and it's a very static kind of layout. We have all the missions laid out for us. We have all the terrain measurements, and I know that Frontline Gaming have now done their own fixed terrain set, which I think is really good for the game. It helps planning, it helps preparation, and minimises the amount of variables that you have to think about when going to an event. And I can see why some people don't like it, but I very, very much prefer being able to plan for as much as I can. So, anyway, we have the first iteration of the list, which was taken at the Goonhammer Open, which was a 50-something player major. Josh Roberts, ex-captain of Team England, won it with his Necron's Kinetic Court. That was the player that I lost to. So I went 4-1 at this event. If we just click on the event now, you'll see that the top 8 was Josh Roberts with Necrons, myself second with Tau, Matthew McCurdy with Space Wolves, very, very good player. He almost put me in Wolf Jail, so I just managed to squeak that win. We had Jack Tite, a well-known player from War Masters, with his sisters. You had Greg Chamberlain, another good player from Dead Red Gaming, with his Eldari. Nassim Fuchain needs no introduction from the War Masters with his Astra Militarum. Brent Wilson with Adeptus Custodes from Trash War Gaming. And then another Dead Red Gaming member called Alex Fowler with Thousand Suns. Sorry, my apologies. Charles Gould with Leagues of Votan from Dead Red Gaming. That was the top 8. So quite a healthy meta. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 different factions. So that's quite unusual. Then with that list, it was an iteration that was made because it was on a modified GW terrain layout. So I think in that list I only had 2 Ghostkeels, but I had 3 Breacherfish. And then the Manchester was where I altered the list for the UKTC terrain pack. So the list that I ended up having at Goonhammer was Shadow Sun, Dark Strider, Long Strike with a Railgun. I had an XV8 Commander, no Precision of the Hunter, just 4 Cyclics and 2 Shield Drones, 3 Breacher Devilfishes. I had 20 Pathfinders with the Recon Drone, the Ions, and the Gun Drone and Shield Drone. Then I had 3 Riptides, all armed with Iron Accelerators, SMS, and they come with the Missile Drones. Then I had 2 Ghostkeels with the Cyclic Iron Rakers and the Fusion Blaster. Then I had another single Hammerhead with a Railgun with 2 Seekers, and that was it. Yeah, so no Tetras, no nothing, just Pathfinders, lots of bodies, and lots of tanks. So 2 Ghostkeels, 3 Breachfish, 3 Riptides. So then I thought, with the UKTC, I'm going to change it. So I dropped a 3rd Breacherfish. I put in a 3rd Ghostkeel. So the rest of the list was exactly the same. So it was Shadow Sun, XP8 Commander, Dark Strider, Long Strike, a single Hammerhead, 2 Breacherfish, 20 Pathfinders, 3 Riptides, and 3 Ghostkeels. So what I learned from Goonhammer was that being able to stat check people with 3 Ghostkeels was crazy good, because it forces people out of position that they have to come and deal with the Ghostkeels, and because you've got 3 of them, you can mitigate the easiest way of dealing with the Ghostkeels, which is not to try and kill them, it's to try to out OC them. So if you put a single Ghostkeel on an objective, it's OC3. So a smart player will not waste their attention trying to kill it, they'll just put 5 standard dudes on an objective and go, well, I'm OC more than you, so I've denied your primary. But when you have multiple Ghostkeels, you can put 2 Ghostkeels on an objective, so that's OC6. So that means they either have to dedicate a battle line unit, that's OC2, or put an additional resource onto their objective to deny your primary. And then having 3, you can overload 1 flank. So in the Manchester event, the top was, yet again, we have Josh Roberts, who's been absolutely dominating the scene recently with the Necron list. So it was Josh who came in for first position with his Necrons, then it was followed by David Gaylord with his Astra Militarum, then it was Tony Chu, captain with Team England, with his Eldari. You had Richard Grint with the Adeptus Mechanicus from the Try Hard Wargaming group, which was a big shock to everybody, but this was like a stat check. He is mass infantry, and he made the top cut because he had, I think, 1 additional point more than me from a battle point. So I was under the assumption that I was going into the top cut, and then the Amasar went no and snuck in there. So hats off to Richard. And so he made top cut, losing to Josh Roberts in the semi-final. And then I came 5th. Now, I played some really good players in that event. It was a fantastic one. I played like Ben Jones. That was an extremely good game, and he was running his Tyrannid monsters with mass gargoyles. And then I played Dom Maidlow from My Goblins with his guard. I played guard twice. I played Nids. I also played what was it now? Necrons. And I can't quite remember the other one without looking at my results. But in short, it was not an easy ride. The pairings were difficult for me, and it seems that I've been going on a kind of a recent trend of just having a very, 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 very hard path to victory. Some might say that's unlucky, but I actually really enjoy it because it challenges me as a player to improve. And for those people that are thinking, oh, I don't want to go to an event because it's full of try-hards or people that just win at all costs, let me tell you, in these events, or the events that I've been to, very, very rarely will you ever come across a whack or a win at all cost players. Everybody's there for their own reasons, whether it's just to get back into the hobby, be part of a community, or just challenge themselves and get that competitive itch scratched. And honestly, I can't recommend the UKTC events enough. I think you'll have an absolute whale of a time. So if you are on the fence, do check them out. You can go onto the UKTC or Warhammer Tournament's website, and they have got an event for every month across the UK. So honestly, get to one of those. I couldn't recommend it enough. So that one, in terms of, if you look at the top 8, we had Necrons first, Astra Militarum, Eldari, Adeptus Mechanicus, Tau, Space Marines, Tau from Marcus Hinson, another good Tau player that I've personal friends with, and then you've got Black Templars. So again, a healthy meta. So at the moment, I think what I'm looking forward to, or hoping, is that with a new balanced data slate, it will still remain balanced in terms of the different armies that we're seeing making the top cut. Because long gone are the days now when it was Eldari, 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 Eldari. Yes, there's still a few things that they need to address with the balanced data, because I still think a few armies are a little bit OP. And I do think Tau needs to be slightly looked at as well, because I feel that we are a little bit too cheap. So I do expect some changes to happen within our faction. So don't think we're just going to get the, we're at 50% area, we're not going to have any changes. I do believe there should be some minor changes to our faction. But anyway, without going too much in detail about the balanced data slate, I do think that we're in a healthy space. So I'm hoping that will continue, because it makes for a more enjoyable game. So that was Manchester. So I was really proud seeing the community, meeting a few people from the Puretide Program there. Event was great fun for me, and it always makes me proud as a coach. So then, last minute, I thought, you know what, let's go to another one. So Oxford, the Oxford 40k Super Major, it actually turned out to be a huge one, with a lot of new players coming onto the scene, which is always healthy for the game. A new breed, if you will, or a new generation of 40k players is exactly what we need. And it just proves that even though in the past 40k or Warhammer has been a little bit stale and not had many updates, and people have just gotten bored, or it's been too oppressive and it's not fun, I think they're doing a really good job in bringing newer players into the hobby, and that is always nice to see from a veteran's point of view. So, the Oxford Super Major. So it ended up being around about 252, or give or take, so past the 250 mark, so a Super Major. And if we look into the placings, we had Vic VJ from Ignite, a well-known player on the scene, absolutely always smashing it, no matter what he's playing with. Very, very, very talented player, and I had the pleasure of playing him in the semi-finals, and what a game that was, which I'll get into later on in the video. Then we had, again, Nassim Fuchain. No, you don't need an introduction for this guy. You know him. He's on the scene with his Astra Militarum. He's absolutely been smashing it, and he's from War Masters. He came second, only losing to Vic in the final. Then we have Sam Nash from Tryhard Wargaming, who finished third with Astra Militarum. He lost to Nassim with the guard matchup in the semi-finals. And then I finished fourth, losing to Vic in the semi-finals too. Very tight game. Then we have Greg Chamberlain with his Leagues of Votan from the Dead Red Gaming. Then we had Ashley Brown with his Adeptus Custodes from Team Napalm Hobbies. Then we had Jonathan Partridge with his Tyranids from Fire and Dice. And then we had Ben Piddington with his Necrons, 8th place from Team Lethal Dice. So again, as you can see, quite a spread out meta. Necrons, Tyranids, Custodes, Votan, Tau, Astra Militarum, and Sisters. So Eldari, nowhere to be seen. So it's really, 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 really good seeing different armies come to the top. And I'm really surprised at the Leagues of Votan, but I'm not surprised that it's Greg Chamberlain. So, look, really good, a fantastic event. And let's go into the event itself from my perspective. So, I possibly had one of the toughest runs of my career at this event. I seem to only play top players, and it started all the way from round 1. Now, it was round 1 in the mission pack is the Dawn of War priority targets, as you can see here, Chilling Reign, and I was against Necron's Hypercrypt, but by a very good, piloted by a very good friend of mine, Mark Cromwellholm. Somewhat of a faction specialist. I know he does jump between a few armies, but he has been focusing on Necrons as one of his big loves, the Necron Overlords, and he was taking Hypercrypt. Now, he had the Nightbringer, lots of heavy destroyers, destroyers, 6-man brick, the lords in there to give him the crits on 5s, lethal hits, all that kind of jazz. And then he had a few scoring pieces. He had 1 Wraith unit with the Technomancer for the extra unit that can go up into the sky, so they can not just only pick up 3 units to go up into Deep Strike at the end of your turn, but with this enhancement you can pick up a 4th. He had a unit of flayed ones, 10 flayed ones, and a unit of scarabs just for actions and stuff, and the Nightbringer like I've mentioned, and I think I'm covering off, oh sorry, yeah, and 2 units of 6 Tomb Blades and a unit of 3 Tomb Blades. So plenty of action pieces, plenty of like heavy damage from coming from the destroyers, and got that kind of combat brick from the Wraiths, whilst also having the flayed ones and a unit of 5 death marks as well. So again, lots of little action monkeys, lots of ways of playing the mission, and lots of ways of putting you under pressure. So in this mission, if you see here, I'll talk about a little bit about the deployment. So we both went tactical, and Mark and I rolled for first turn 3 times, because we both rolled a double 1 into double 1 into double 1. We changed dice and we're just like, what is this? And in this mission, it favours whoever goes second. So I got lucky and I ended up going second. So what that means is Priority Targets is a mission where you get maximum of 10 points for the primary, so hold 1 for 5, hold 2 for 10, and then at the end of the game, you basically get 5 points for every objective you hold. So if you go second, you can just achieve 25 points at the end of the game. So your turn 5, you get 15, because you hold 3, and then you get, you get two primaries, that's 10, and then you get 5 for every objective you hold, so it's not capped at 10 then, so it's 15 plus the 10, that's 25. So Mark deployed Nightbringer, destroyers, he had some more destroyers over here, and the Wraiths under here as well. He had the flayed ones infiltrated here. He had the Tomb Blades up here, so they could scout, and another Tomb Blade unit here, Tomb Blade unit here, and the Destroyer brick, I think might have been in Deep Strike, I can't quite remember, or he'll have put him there to put him up off the board and bring him down again, so I think he did have him on the board there as well. So Mark's plan was basically, I'm going to push my Wraiths up and have my flayed ones here, hold on to this with as much OC as possible, and then be able to drop in 3 and deny me any objectives on this one, because obviously the stratagem where they can just deep strike 3 inches away. And obviously, if you look here, I will have tried to, I wanted to kind of like stage behind here, so I can't quite fit a lot of OC on there, so it's quite comfortable for him just to drop a unit there and go, well, I've denied you. This one, nobody really wants anything to do with, because you can't hide behind the objectives and score, so whatever you put on there is going to get shot. Now, what I did with my deployment is that I wanted to threaten this objective here. So I had Pathfinders infiltrated just here, I had a Devilfish here, Breaches on foot here, a Riptide, a Hammerhead, a Ghostkeel just deployed here, a Ghostkeel deployed here, and a Ghostkeel deployed here. And I had Pathfinders infiltrating here, so I could scout move forward or scout move back behind this wall. I had a Devilfish tucked in here, a Riptide deployed over here, Longstrike deployed over here, a Riptide, and Shadow Sun. And so that's Riptide on each flank and in the centre, Hammerhead here, Hammerhead there, Devilfish here, Devilfish there. And I had the Dark Strider just basically in this Devilfish, because I deployed it here so that it could scout move back here to hide, and then also Dark Strider to completely block off this area. So what ended up happening was, with him going first, he just pushed up to here with his Wraiths, held firm, did a few secondaries, didn't go for anything risky, and just staged. So in terms of Mark, he did Cleanse and Secure turn 1, nice and easy, 10 points. What he ended up doing actually is he I think, put the Tomb Blades on this objective over here straight off because I had my Pathfinders on there, so he just went, you know what, done, I'll get that out of the way. I thought that was a little bit of a mistake. He could have just like used this Tomb Blade unit to go onto there and just sacrifice a small unit rather than the big unit, but he got him 10 points, so in a good position. I got area denial and deployed teleport homers, so I was able to do deploy teleport homers here, and I was able to, because I did it with a Ghost Keel, and I was able to get area denial. So this Ghost Keel that was deployed here had set up for this. So I'd set up within 16 of the center point, and that's something that I teach over in the Puretide Program. It's always setting up for success rather than needing an advance roll or forgetting about, oh, well, if I was 16.1 away, I wouldn't have been able to be wholly within 6. So I deployed a Ghost Keel ready for that. So my Ghost Keel just went straight into the center point and went, okay, cool. So I got 5 points for area denial, and I got 3 points for deploy teleport homers. So then turn 2 happen. I've put him to a 5 because he couldn't quite fit the race on this objective, so I moved my Pathfinders out and denied him to a 5. And then, this is the big swing in the game here, okay? So, he moves out, he clears the Pathfinders, he out-OCs the Ghost Keel here, he shoots them with the Destroyers, takes the bait, comes in, but he made a massive error. I had Riptide and a Ghost Keel, and this Ghost Keel was like here, one was here, and he came to shoot out, put the 6-man Destroyer brick there, the 3-1 in here, and for some reason he put out this unit here, but he completely forgot that I was low up, even though I did remind him. We talked about this afterwards, and it was just like, Mark's a very, very respectable player, because if he's made a mistake, he owns it, and he doesn't ask for any takebacks, which I do respect, and I believe that obviously there should be some level of communication, but you can't play the game for your opponent, because then you're handicapping yourself, so massive props to Mark there. And what ended up happening was, in my turn, I was able to delete this unit here, and I got cleanse and capture any outpost. So I cleansed over here, couldn't cleanse here, and I had a Ghost Keel here that could have cleansed here, but what I ended up doing was moving this way, shooting, and then firing and fading onto the outskirts of this objective here, because I'd killed these 3 destroyers, which meant that I got capture on the outpost on turn 2. And I think from that point, the game was won, because he had everything out in the open, trying to kill an asset of mine, and I Riptide out here, and didn't kill it. Now, I'd already won the game by having to go second, which I really think UKTC need to think about removing that mission from the pack. Because it's just, there's no skill just going second and getting 25 points. But anyway, so what ended up happening was Mark had denied me to 2 5s on primary, then I got a 10, then I got 25. So that is 45 on primary. I ended up getting 35 on secondaries. He got 3 sets of 5 on the primary, so 5 turn 2 and turn 3, 10 for turn 4, and then 5 at the end of the game. So it ended 90 to 71. Mark's a very good player, and had a brilliant game with him. And what I would say to other Tau players out there, if you're playing Hypercrypt, you need to do 2 things. Number 1, you need to make sure your screening is on point. Dark Strider is essential, but it can deep strike 3 inches away. Now the Tomb Blades can drop in, shoot you, and then fire and fade 6 inches innately. So if you imagine if you just placed something of low OC, and bear in mind the Tomb Blades, by the way, are OC 2 each, so they can easily jump in, shoot, deny you, jump onto your objective. So the way to stop this that I was doing is I was placing units on the outside of my objective, so that then he'd be 3 inches away, but then he can't clear my Riptide's base, which is like 3.5, so he couldn't land on the other side. So you can actually screen the objective from the outside rather than trying to huddle into the terrain, which is exactly what I did here. So I never got my home taken away from me. And then over here, there's nothing really much I can do until I pushed out. So I was okay at being denied to 5s because I was getting the 25 at the end. So the key thing is, if you put something in the center of the objective and they can't deep strike 3 inches on the objective, but the Tomb Blades will be able to deploy away, then shoot you, then scoot onto the objective after they've shot. So it's quite a tricky one to stop them. And so just be aware of that for your primary game, because that's all the list is designed to do. It's designed to shoot you good, deny your primary, and then they win on the primary. So that was a good win going into round 2. Again, Mark was a very good player, so I was like, starting the event, going into a veteran. So then I thought, okay, cool, well, round 2, maybe I'll get a little bit easier. Nope, Pairings God had a different idea. I went into Ben Jones from Vanguard Tactics, a very consistent player and an absolute lovely chap, and I love playing Ben. Strangely, I've never played Ben in 9th edition, or at all for like a year or so when I was with Vanguard Tactics. But then in the last 2 events, back to back, me and Ben. So I'd happily play him again, but again, I think the mission helped me a little bit. But Ben was not using his Tyranids this time, he was using Orks. Probably practicing for the new Ork Codex. So Ben took a list that was to be expected with one clever personalised piece, which I absolutely loved, and I couldn't believe that I was fearing this unit, but you have to. So he took the normal, he had the Flash Gits with Zagstruck, he had loads of boys, a Mega Knob, trucks, he had Gretchen, he had more knobs. It's basically boys and trucks, Mega Knobs, unit of Storm Boys, Gretchen, and the big battle wagons. And then he also had a 20-man unit of Gretchen with the Zogstruck or whatever his name is. I'm sorry if I'm butchering the Orc name, but I'm not an Orc player. And had this big 20-man unit of Gretchen that could scout move 9 and in the war move 12, advance charge, +1 to wound. It was really funny to see this, because you might think, oh, I'm not afraid of Gretchen, but honestly, this unit's job is just to tar pit you. So we were on a search and destroy mission, so with Orks being able to just effectively deploy on the line, and if they go first and you've kind of deployed a little bit too aggressively, they will honestly hurt you. So in this mission here, it's supply drop. So it's the one where the objectives will go away. So the Alpha and Omega. Now, in this mission, I always deploy very defensively, but tactfully, because I know that the objectives are going to go away, and they may not go away in my favour. And in this mission, this one went away, then the centre one, and then we're fighting over this top left. So I deployed my Pathfinders infiltrating here, Devilfish with Darkstrider here, Hammerhead over here, Hammerhead, Longstrike over here, Riptide over here. Then I've got 2 Riptides and a Devilfish here. Pathfinder squad like here, so they can scout me backwards. Shadow Sun and GHOSTKEELS. There's 2 GHOSTKEELS up here on this top left flank, and 1 GHOSTKEEL down here, just for a bit of distraction and baiting in to get some firing lanes down into here. So what ended up happening was he deployed obviously a truck over here, Gretchen at the back, truck up here, and staged his units, with the shooting, the Flash Gits were able to teleport. So he had them back here. Oh, he had a big unit of 20 boys as well, that could teleport as well if they wanted to. I think he deep struck 1. No, he had the shooting boys, the boys in the truck, and then the shooting units deep strike. So what ended up happening was Ben went first, which is, it's good if I'd have deployed badly, but because I didn't, Ben wanted to go second, because then he can just jump everything on to the end and get the primary points. So what ended up happening was I didn't need to rush for primaries, because if I rushed for primaries in this mission, it opens myself up to being ward. So with Orks, all I was doing was getting my screens correct, screening out the first turn deep strike. Darkstrider was able to do that for me from a comfortable position. Having the Pathfinders set up he ended up pushing up here, putting a battle wagon here. So I went in for the glory kill, and I killed the battle wagon because my cards dictated it. But I had to put the Pathfinders out there to screen where the boys could come out because I needed to deny him the primary. So I ended up pushing up and sacrificing my Pathfinders, just so that he wouldn't just get the free primary from when I killed the battle wagon, which put him to a 0. So Ben got 5 on that turn because he'd got this one or that one, and I didn't want to overextend. So he ended up getting 5 on the primary for turn 2, and then he didn't receive any other primary points because it was just primary denial. I take it off him, he takes it back, I take it off him, then it disappears, that kind of thing. Now Ben took homers and bring it down, which I think was a mistake. He should have gone tactical, in my opinion, because my list on paper gives away 32 bring it down, but very rarely do people ever get close to even that number. I think the most that's ever been taken against me was 20, but that was against Space Wolf Jail at Goonhammer, and I had to do that because he put me under immense pressure. But most of the time it averages between 8 and 12. And Ben got 12 on Bring It Down, killing the Ghostkeels by design, and they killed two Ghostkeels and 2 Devilfish. I think was the tally at the end, or 3 Ghostkeels. So 2 Ghostkeels and 2 Devilfish, yeah. So he got 12, and then he got his homers for 12 as well. So what ended up happening for me was that I think I got 15 on primary at the end, I took tactical, and I got 35. So at the end of the day, I got 61, 60 versus his 41 was the score at the end. Now, the Alpha and Omega mission definitely had something to do with that. This was a low-scoring win, and at this point, it was purely just down to, again, going second and being able to screen out Orks and not get too hasty to rush into primaries because they will just punish you. So again, if you're going to play Orks, you're worried about Orks, there is a simple mechanic that you need to get right. It's if they're pushing up on one flank, you need to slow it down and push on the other, or meet the Ork horde head on, whilst making sure that you're not giving them easy charges. So I was constantly measuring the threat ranges. Okay, so you get out of a vehicle, you can then move. Okay, cool. So it's like 8 inches, right? And then you got an advance. So that's, if you get a 6, that's 14 plus a charge, 26. Okay, so I'll deploy my Ghostkeel 26.1 away. Okay, so I'm going to screen this vehicle here behind this terrain. So if you do charge me, I'm going to hop back into the vehicle. Little things like that. If you do not pre-measure stuff against Orks, they will just rush at you and they will overload you. So that is your key thing to focus on when you're playing Orks. Screening, making sure you're measuring threat range at all times, and do not give them any easy window to come in and charge you, because if they do and they tag your, breaches, for example, you lose a massive asset. So I was never allowing him to tag my breaches, which are the ones doing the damage. Then I go on to round 3. So round 3 was against a lovely chap called Vincent, and he was using his Custodes, and we were playing on the mission Purge the Foe. So Purge the Foe is hold 1, hold more, kill 1, kill more. And if you look on here, it's sweep and clear, which, to be honest with you, we both forgot about, and I think everybody in this mission forgets that it's sticky objectives. But with the way that this kind of mission works, or the layout works, it doesn't really come into play much, because I still had to protect my objectives. So Custodes, he had the typical Blade Champions with the Wardens, he had Draxi with the indirect shooting, and in a Custodian Guard unit, the unit of Sisters of Silence, and Alaris Terminators, and just all the defensive guys just rocking around in Trajan in a Warden Brick as well. So 2 Blade Champions, and Trajan and Draxi in another unit, and then lots of stuff around it. So this is sweeping engagement. So here I deployed Hammerhead up here. I deployed a Devilfish on the line here, a Riptide right behind it. I had the Devilfish with Dark Strider and deployed here, Pathfinder's infiltrated here, so I could scout move back into my Devilfish after my Devilfish's scout move because it's got not long strike, Dark Strider in the fish itself. I had a unit of breachers just on foot in this ruin here. I had a Ghostkeel deployed over here, 2 Riptides on this flank, 1 over there, 1 Ghostkeel on this flank, and 1 just hovering around here within 16 inches of this center point for area denial and deployed teleport homers. Shadow Sun wholly within 19 of the bottom left corner, just in case I want to do investigate signals. So again, you'll notice a lot of the terminology that I'm saying, or a lot of things that I'm talking about when it comes to my deployment, is pre-setting up, like, scoring secondaries. I'm not leaving anything to chance. I'm going, well, if I deploy Shadow Sun within 19 of this the corner of the board, then I'm movement 10, so I can go and do investigate signals. And then having my Pathfinders deployed here means if I got engaged on all fronts, I can scout move, or my Ghostkeel over here can move out and get engaged on all fronts. So I've got everything carefully planned. You know, my Pathfinders were here, so then if they wanted to, they could move 7, okay, and then get maybe an advance to go and do deployed teleport homers in the enemy DZ, but I wasn't too kind of focused on that due to the fact that I didn't want to get close to the Custodes. So it was more of positioning my units to be able to retreat or to attack and do secondaries. So with this one, Vincent takes tactical, and I took tactical. In my first turn, I got engage on all fronts and secure no man's land. He went first, which again is good for me because I get to kill more with my indirect. Turns out though that apparently 4 Sisters of Silence just rolled like a hero and didn't die. I had 1 Sisters left, so I didn't get the kill and kill more in turn 1, which is fine. So nobody got anything on turn 1 because the only thing you can get is a kill or kill more, and or both. So I didn't get anything, neither did he. So no change in the score there. And then because of the kill more, hold, I got kill, hold 1, and I got kill more for turn 2 and turn 3, and then I got 16 and 16, so I got hold 1, hold more, kill more. And with Custodes, I've done a really good video on how to tackle Custodes, and I know they're obviously going to drop off the meta, but it's more specifically teaching you how to deal with combat threats and combat armies. So, if you want to come and join the Puretide Program, it's the place to be. You can join up and subscribe to even the lowest of the Pathfinders, and there's a demonstration on the Custodes using the Mani Chima list. The other tiers will definitely help you improve your gameplay, so go and check them out. The link will be in the description below. So what I ended up doing was effectively pre-measuring. So you'll hear me talk about pre-measuring, and it is honestly one of the basic fundamentals of 40k. Measure out where the opponent can get to, and then plan your movement around that. Sounds simple, but I see a lot of players getting this fundamental wrong and then blaming dice. Dice can happen at any given point. They can leave you, they can make you into a hero, or they can ruin your day. So just factor your movement and your positioning and your tactics on not having to use dice. So he pushes up to the center stages, but I then screen with my Pathfinders around this L here, so then he cannot get to this objective because I just placed my units on the tiptoe edge of here so that he could not make it in. Obviously he had a unit to come in from turn 2 because he went first, so I pushed out Dark Strider and shoved him in here so that actually it denies a 12-inch bubble of, well, you can't deep strike to come and take this objective and charge this unit on the edge. If I'd have deployed stuff on the front line here, he could have then rapid ingressed, deep striking and made a 9-inch charge. So I didn't want to give him that. So I had Dark Strider here, so you can't charge him from deep strike, and then I had my units just touching the objective so that you can't come and take it off me. So then I secured myself 2 objective to stop it from getting hold more. And then from there, even the Vincent said, he was like, you've clearly played Custodes before, and yeah, you didn't give me anything. And I had some lucky rolls with the Ghostkeel surviving some absurd combats, and from there I just pushed up on this bottom right flank with my Riptides and my Ghostkeel, crippled this Blade Champion unit, but he had nothing really to come and send over to retaliate. The Commander deep struck in from the back, cleared the calibre Assassin, and the Sister of Silence died on my turn 2, so then he had to then rapid ingress, because he didn't bring in the deep striking unit here, because he had set it up so that it was no gain for him. So he just rapid ingressed them here to reclaim this objective, otherwise he knew that he'd have nothing on it. So then the Drax's unit had to go backwards to deal with the commander, and at that point my Ghostkills and Riptide had pushed up and deleted the Custodian Guard unit, and then Trajan's unit was in the middle, Blade Champion unit, the Custodian Guard, sorry, the Warden unit with, what's his name in, Trajan had pushed up after hitting a screen that I didn't mind him because he charged the breaches, but I hopped back into the Delphish from behind the wall. So he was like, oh man. So he charged the Devilfish and killed the Devilfish. Oh no, didn't kill the Devilfish. And then all I did was I screened him and shot his unit from this point here. And then when he pushed up the Blade Champion unit the next turn, I did the exact same. So that was game, set, and match. It ended up 100 to his 57. So he only got 19 on secondaries and 20 on primaries, whereas I maxed out. So that was a good round 3. So, okay, right. So I've played Hypercrypt, I've played Orks, and I've played Custodes. 3 really powerful armies. And 2 out of the 3 players that I played against were tournament veterans. Then I go into Dana's, okay? So, apologies if I've butchered your name, but he's another really good player, really highly spoken of by my good friend Nassim. And I could tell straight away that the guy knew how to play his army. We had a great chat about our abilities and stuff like that, and you know, he was asking me if I knew how the army worked, and I was telling him about the tricks that I can do with the hopping into Devilfish and things like that. So we started the game really comfortable with each other's armies and ready to go. Now the mission that we were playing was Scorched Earth on Hidden Supplies, so the exact same deployment as before. But there's the centre objective is now split into 2 there. So then you can only hold a maximum of 2. So it's hold 1 for 5, hold 2 for 10. And then from turn 2 onwards, you can burn an objective. And in order to burn it, you control it. You start to burn, if you control it with that unit at the end, or if you control that objective with that unit at the end or at the command phase of the next turn, you get 5 points. So you get 5 points if you burn one of them in No Man's Land. You don't get any additionals for burning other ones, but you can still burn them if you wanted to destroy an objective that your opponent wants to claim. And then you can get 10 points if you burn the enemy deployment zone objective, which very rarely happens. And if it does happen, you're already winning the game. So his list was a bit different than Mark's. With the Hypercrypt, he went in with a Catan. So he had a Catan, he had the Void Dragon, he had the Nightbringer, he had 2 Doomsday Arcs, he had a couple of single destroyers and a unit of 2 heavy destroyers. He had Action Monkey, he had the Hexmark, he had oh god, what else did he have? Yeah, Death Marks as well. So yeah, lots of little single action monkeys and lots of little things that you can do the mission on. And he went for fixed. He went for homers and behind enemy lines. Now, there was a risk to this because I can actually screen quite a lot of the board, and that's what I ended up doing. I only ended up giving him opportunities to deep strike in here or have to use his Tomb Blades. So, Hammerhead, Long Strike, Devilfish goes here with the scout move, Ghostkeel here, Ghostkeel here, Ghostkeel here, Riptide, sorry, no, 1 Riptide, 2 Ghostkeels here, Long Strike, Shadow Sun, I had 2 Riptides here, Devilfish, Hammerhead, Pathfinders up here, ready to scout back or forward, Pathfinders here with the Devilfish and Darkstrider there, and Breaches here. So basically what I ended up doing was not giving him any area in here to deep strike. Darkstrider got out straight away in my second turn, and I went second again, so I deep strike back here. Now I made a little bit of an error. He had a Wraith unit as well, by the way, so he pushed his Wraith unit up here, kept everything pretty much safe, and used his Tomb Blades first turn to go in and do behind enemy lines and homers. So he got homers. He got homers over here with his Catan, and then just did behind enemy lines because he shot the Tomb Blades and then fire and faded onto here. So that gives him 6 points on his secondaries. And then I got no prisoners in deploy, so I killed that unit and deployed teleport in the center, so I got 5, so we're pretty much on 1 point down. We all get 10 on the primaries throughout the whole game, so we basically just held on to our home field in this one, and just went 10, 10, 10, 10, 10, 10. No, we didn't even bother burning because we knew that the other person would be able to take it from us. So we didn't waste any time with that. We just went in to play tit for tat. There was one move that he did in his turn 2 that could have been a big swing in the game, and I made a mistake here. I pre-measured everything, but what I did is I think I moved Darkstride a little bit back, and what I didn't do is I didn't communicate with my opponent. I was like, what I'm trying to do here is just deep strike denial everywhere. Now, the opponent came over and he found a little gap between a Riptide here and where Darkstrider's 12-inch bubble stops. So he could just fit a Destroyer base in there. So I was like, damn it. And that was massive because it would have got him behind enemy lines, and he'd have been able to do a homers for 4 rather than 3. So that would have been 4 extra points rather than his 3. He did go for it, and I overwatched with the Riptide, and I got a 6 to hit, and I got a wound, and it just killed it because it's flat 4 damage. So I just killed that Destroyer, which is massive. He spent a CP to deep strike it within 3, and I spent a CP to kill it on Overwatch. Done. Dusted. Thank you very much. So that was lucky, but 6 shots. I'm going to get 1-6 statistically. So the game, very, very, very tactical. And there was moments where my dice literally abandoned me, and there was moments where my dice did not abandon me. A Ghostkeel surviving the Void Dragon was funny. Not funny for my opponent, bless him, but nonetheless, it survived. Let me just adjust my curtains, it's a bit dark. And then we had a moment where the Nightbringer just tanked everything. He passed loads of 4-up invulns, which was kind of frustrating, but 4-ups be fickle, or they reward you. So yeah, same advice really. The Catans are very, very good when they connect, but if you can just screen them out and stop them from making important charges into things that matter, you can just deal with them with mass shots, turn 3, slow the Necrons down until turn 3, and then you can just really offload, sustain hits 2, grenade strats, lots of different damage profiles, pop your dev wounds with your Riptides. So yeah, I found that the game was always going to be within a couple of points, and it ended up being a victory by only 5 points. So it was 85 to me and 80 for him. He scored 30 on secondaries, I scored 35, and he scored 40 on primaries, and I scored 40 on primaries, and we both had the points of 10. So close game, really enjoyed it, very skilled player. And honestly, I was really feeling under the barrel a few times, and it's just consistently playing against high caliber players. So, feeling quite drained at this point. Took a lunch break, and I was like, oh man, round 5. Let's see what I get. So I get another really skilled player, Ranchen Lee. Very good in his local meta, and has beaten a couple of top players like Boris. Plays a lot of people down at the Badminton Cafe, I've heard, from Nassim. So very respectable player, and he's running a very good Death Guard list that was pretty much 3 Plague Burst Crawlers, 2 units of Plague Marines with the characters with the Flamers. He had 2 Rhinos and 2 Predator Destructors, I think they're called. They're just basically Predators with las cannons. A Bloat Drone, and he had a unit Death Shroud. This game was one of my favourites because my dice, oh my god, they turned on. Like, some silly rolls. Like, turn 3, he had 3 Death Shroud Terminators in base contact with Long Strike and a Hammerhead holding them up. I spotted with Shadow Sun, rolled a 6 to hit with Long Strike, sustain hits 2, then rolled 2 6s and a 1 to wound. Rerolled the 1 with the targeting array with the Hammerhead, rolled it into another 6, so that's 3 dev wounds, that's just 3 6 plus d6 damage onto the Death Shroud, so they just went away. The other Hammerhead shot downfield, killed a Plague Burst Crawler, then I needed a 9-inch charge to charge something that was behind this wall. It was a tank, and I rolled an 11 with Long Strike and then a 10 with this Hammerhead, so they just went, yo, boom, denied him primary. And every time he had to come out, I just deleted his stuff. So in terms of my deployment, very similar to the Ork game, but I put a lot in reserve because he had a decent indirect. I put a Pathfinder unit, a standard Breacher unit on foot, Long Strike, a Hammerhead, and the XB8 Commander in Deep Strike. I knew that I had enough resources on the board to slow him down, aka the Ghostkeels, and the Riptides can keep him honest. So I had a Devilfish with Dark Strider here, Pathfinder screened out here. He had a unit of Cultists, which he sticky objected this one, but I placed a Ghostkeel here, a Ghostkeel down here, and a Ghostkeel up here, just to kind of split the field. My Pathfinders he went first, so he couldn't sticky this objective, but he could sticky that one, and then he moved to safety here. And all I did was I SMS'd, and he had a Plague Burst Crawl, sorry, not Plague Burst Crawl, a Plague Drone move out over to here. He had his indirect pieces back here, tanks over here pushing up to this flank. The Death Shroud Terminators were in Deep Strike, Plague Marines were in this Rhino here, Plague Marines were in the Rhino over here, so he's going to push the objectives. That's exactly what happened. Ghostkeel forced them out early because I got Cleanse, so I just basically went Cleanse on these two objectives, done, thank you very much, and I got Secure, so that was like 10 points. He got rubbish secondaries, he got Capture and Investigate Signals, so he only got 2. Then he got Behind, and then he got Storm, so his secondary cards were not kind to this man, bless him. And then what ended up happening was against Death Guard is you've got to respect the Flamers. So if I was to give you that quick advice, the Flamers are able just to overwatch and delete a unit of breaches, they would delete a unit of breaches. So when they're on an objective, you might kind of go, great, I want to pop out my breaches, and then they overwatch you, and because they're range 12 and they'll position their Flamers correctly and the character Flamers as well, you will not get the efficiency that you think you're going to get off, because even if you don't lose the whole unit, you're going to be down to like 2 or 3 models. So got to be careful of that. So the only way of doing it was to keep him in combat, and this is a big swing over here. This unit at the turn killed the Ghostkeel with the grenade stratagems and stuff like that, but then because I didn't need to get on my breaches, I just hit them with 3 Riptides and a Commander dropping in and killed them anyway, but when with the Ghostkeels as well. But when it came to this flank over here in turn 3, I had a breach team sat here just waiting all game, waiting for the opportune moment. Because this mission, it's taken hold, so it's hold 1, hold 2, hold 3, no endgame scoring. So very important to deny primaries. So what ended up happening was I gave him 2 sets of 10 and 2 sets of 5, but with mine I got 2 sets of 5 and 2 sets of 15. So I always knew that I don't need to rush, I just need to wait patiently and see what he does. So over here we had a really close moment where I had a Ghostkeel and a Riptide. He charged a Plague Marine shot, grenaded, shot, charged, and managed to only take the Riptide down to 2 wounds. Now he should have killed it, but I think I got really lucky on my invuns. And then this Ghostkeel died, and then it blew up. And this was his opportunity. I thought, oh yes. So then averagely when I blow up, I'd do in D3, so it's 2. But I just went, watch this, I'll roll a 1. Rolled a 1, so my Riptide was left on 1 wound. And then I did 3 wounds to him. That was inconsequential, it didn't really matter. But the Riptide surviving on 1 was huge, because it meant then that I could move my breaches out of the Devilfish, not get Overwatch because he's engaged, and then fall back my Riptide. So 2 breacher units went out and went, okay, cool, I'm now just going to shoot you, and deleted that unit. And then from then, the game was lost because my Hammerheads had done mass damage and then tagged. I denied him to a 5, and then just started to rack up the secondary points. So I scored 90 because I got 40 out of 50 on primary, 40 on secondaries. He got 61 in total. So he got 30 on primary and 31 and 21 on secondaries and 10 on painting. So really good player, but all these games that I had, my opponent said to me, your list is horrendous because it's just too much to deal with. There is the Ghostkeels, there's Riptides, and the Ghostkeels can bait out the enemy to come out to deal with the Riptides. Deal with the Ghostkeels, and the Riptides can deal with what's come out to deal with the Ghostkeels. And then you've got your Breacher Fish that can follow up later, and if you really do need to send a Breacher Fish out, you can use them to deny or score secondaries. So I'm not using my Breacher Fish to do the damage, I'm using them just to sit ready for primary game later on, when I know that it matters. My Ghostkeels and my Riptides are bullying early doors. Now, going on to the gap between, round 5, I was like, okay, I thought, I'm done now. I knew that with drawing Ben Jones in round 2 and being on the Alpha Omega, that because I dropped a lot of points, I didn't expect to make the top cut. But there was a draw in 2 of the other players that drew 79-79, which meant that I made the top cut. So I was like, okay, cool. And I ended up playing Vic VJ with his sisters. So the list had got 3 Castigators, no indirect, an Emulator, Catherine, Triumph, Celestine, Zephyrin, Seraphim, sisters, what are they called? Oh my god. Character lady that's got a sword is really good. Oh my god, I'm going to kick myself for not remembering that. And then 30 Arcos. So the list is pretty much, okay, I've got all my pieces, like Tau, very, very, very kind of MSU. Lots of scoring pieces, lots of primary play, and then also got fairly decent shooting when it comes to Flamers. And the Castigators have a nice ability where when they shoot you, make you battle shock. So this game, me and Vic are very different players. Vic talked about our game on the Fireside podcast and said some absolutely lovely words about me. And Vic, thank you very much. I love you to bits, man. And honestly, I thought it was an absolute pleasure and an honour to play you. Now, Vic's very tactical and very good at analysing the game state and deciding what needs to be done. But remember, this is round 6, so we're already tired. And we discussed the armies, and I think I made a couple of critical errors. One, when I talk about my army being a stat check, I didn't push it hard enough in this. Now, the Castigators are okay, but they're only AP 1. So, as Vic said, he's going there with a bravado, and he actually didn't. He was still a very polite gentleman, just talked about what things do and stuff like that, and very composed all the time. That's what I love about Vic as a player. He's very composed, and he sticks to his guns, and you can see him, he's smiling, he's laughing, engaging, and then he puts this serious face on and goes into the zone, which I love. I love seeing players and watching them kind of figure the puzzle out. And I didn't push my Riptides or GHOSTKEELS hard enough, and if I had done that, I think it would have been a game in my favour. So we basically, just to run through the deployments, so I had Long Strike here, Hammerhead over here, I had the Commander in Deep Strike, I had the Pathfinders infiltrate here so they could scout move back, I had the Pathfinders here, and the Devilfish with Darkstrider here, I had a Devilfish here with Breaches, Breaches on foot here, Riptide here, Riptide here, Riptide here, GHOSTKEEL over here, GHOSTKEEL over there, and a GHOSTKEEL here. Because I didn't want to give his unit of Flying Sisters with Celestine the opportunity to get in early, and I didn't want to give him the option to shoot something and fire and fade behind the wall. He placed his Arcoflagellants here, Arcoflagellants here, Arcoflagellants here, and basically just had the same as my Riptides, one in the centre, one flank, one on each flank. He had the Emulator with the Melter Sisters in there, the Triumph of St. Celestine, and a Castigator here, so he could get the firing lanes down here. And then he had his 2 other Castigators in reserve, and the 2 units of Flying Sisters in reserve as well, 3 units. I basically went second. I made a mistake slightly here, but it ended up baiting out the Melter Sisters, so I was contemplating pushing it further to block this line, but I decided that I should have still done that. I think I was too afraid of the sisters, that the Flamers aren't doing anything, so I gave him a couple of melter shots. Luckily for me, he rolled like garbage and didn't do enough damage to Devilfish, and then I went to kill what was on here, and the game came down to I was positioning my models ready to do secondaries, which I did okay. I should have focused on denying primary more. Now, I was thinking about just placing 3 GHOSTKEELS on this objective, just surrounding it, and then pushing up my assets on here and just holding down for the 10s. And I think if it had done more of the primary work, if I'd have got 10s rather than 5s, it would have swung the game. Now the game ended up being 80 to Vic, 73 to me. And you'll hear Vic and I within the Discord talking about the clock. So when you're in the top court, the awards are going on and you have to go straight to your game and you're playing. So there is a definite emphasis on you need to finish this game by 8. Because they have to obviously put the next game in and then pack up and stuff like that. So we're on a time limit. So the clock, that doesn't influence the clock. That's just, they're very strict on the time management. So me and Vic, because even though we are different characters in terms of the way that we, I suppose, not compose in a bad way, but compose. I'm very energetic. I'm very kind of like, right, come on, let's go. And even when Vic was rolling, I gave him 10, 20 funeral pains to make, and he lost a 1.5 Arco Flagons. I was like, come on, man, you can do this. He was just rolling like a god. It was great. He is composed, and so am I. But when it comes to tactical positioning, we are very much the same. We were looking at every measurement, making sure that we were setting up for the best optimal outcome, and we focused too much on damage, I think, and we were just both umming and ahhing and making sure that we were trying to avoid any of the possibilities of failure points. And what happened is that we ended up running low on time. Vic had got all his points, his primary points and stuff, but then ended up timing out at the end of his turn 4. I had then 10 minutes to go into my turn 4 and turn 5. Now I drew 2 cards. I drew Capture on the Outpost and No Prisoners. Now I went straight into I made a mistake here, and this is a big thing for anybody watching this. When you draw your cards, and when you're in a position that, it's so tight in points, don't rush into action straight away. Look at the board state and look for the easy opportunities or your window of victory, or your opportunity to win the game. This is where I fell down. I didn't look at it and go, So you've got that sister unit there on that objective here, and I've got Celestine here, Triumph here, and I think another unit like here that I could kill. So I could have just gone, well, I'll kill Celestine for definite, kill the Triumph, kill this unit, that's 3, and takes you off this primary, so that's 5, denied from you, and I've just got 5 for No Prisoners rather than 2, and I would have won the game by 1 point. Instead, I wasted my 10 minutes, or should we say, I think I spent like 5 or 6 minutes going in to my turn 4, shooting and doing the damage, and then I had like 4 minutes left on turn 5. So I had 4 minutes to fight. I think it was about 4 minutes or so to try and figure out how to do Capture on the Outpost, and I wasted my time doing that. So if I hadn't have wasted my time doing Capture on the Outpost, maybe even just spent a CP just to bin it off and get another card and go, okay, cool, done. So, like Vic said, I took it like a champ and ended up losing by 7 points. And the reason that I didn't really get upset about losing was because I had a really enjoyable game and I was able to play somebody who I've looked up to in terms of from a competitive standpoint. Vic's always been consistent, and Vic said to me a lovely compliment at the beginning. He's like, man, you've been really kind of consistent lately, really well done and impressive. And it's really good to hear that from fellow competitive players because it kind of inspires you to carry on and do better. And I think this game taught me a lot. And Vic said something which was dead on the money. I'm a very defensive player. So I think this list has forced me to go into the defensive playstyle, but I do have the ability to be an aggressive player, but sometimes in the heat of things, I go back into old behaviours and just get too defensive. And in this game is a prime example of if I'd have chosen the way of the aggression, the way of the short blade, it would have paid off because he didn't really have the damage to deal with the 3 Ghostkills and the 3 Riptides. Maybe he kills 1. So I think that was a spot-on analysis, and that's something that I respect and commend Vic for because he knew the player he was going against, he knew the army, but he was like, I know that Kyle's going to be defensive, so I'm really going to kind of bank on that. And guess what? I went straight into his trap and I was defensive. So for me, that's the learning curve that I'm going to take away, and I'm going to actually really think about it in terms of when I start a game, I'm like, okay, cool, no, I'm going to assess what they can do in terms of damage and then just go ham and go aggressive. So Vic, I know you took a lot away because it was the first time that you clocked out, and it was like it's a learning curve, and I think that I also clocked out my turn 5 effectively because I didn't have enough time to complete what I could have potentially done. So I don't think either of us played a bad game. I just think we faffed around too much, didn't we, buddy? So I actually really looking forward to the next time I play Vic or anybody of that high caliber, because I've definitely taken away a lot from this event. It was fantastic as well, just to kind of go off the games and stuff. It was brilliant to see all the Puretide Program members there, coming up to me, asking me for advice, taking photos. Honestly, it was really, really good to see the community grow over the last year, and I can't wait for more of you to join and more of you to come to these events and take part in the greater good. So, for me, I was really pleased with the overall consistency from the events that I've been to. So, in short, the Goonhammer one, I went 4-1. Then in the Manchester one, I went 5-0 and defeated. And then the Oxford one, I went 5-0 and defeated. And then the Shadow round, which doesn't count taking away the undefeated title, because I won a little trophy saying undefeated, but I lost to the winner. So I've lost to the winner of Goonhammer and lost to the winner of Oxford. So I've definitely got within... I've got into a kind of stride, if you will, with this list. Now, the reason I've chosen to do a video on this tournament series is that I'm going to do a couple of videos in the next week or so around Kion and Montcar and Retaliation Cad. But I honestly think that the Kion is, outside of the Crypt detachment, I think Kion is going to be the most powerful one. And this list that I've got is going to slot in to the balanced data slate and the points that are coming out. Even though I don't know the points, I can tell you now that the concept of the list is going to be the same, and it's going to be more powerful within Khan. I've already had a couple of practice games with it, and honestly, it's just gone from being great to even better. So I'm going to do a video on this later in the week, so really kind of like, subscribe, leave your comments, and stay tuned for that. But for those people that are thinking about joining, you don't really know what it is that I offer, the Puretide Program is a massive Discord now that's grown over a year. I've got nearly 1,500 members on it. I've got the free community elements. You don't just have to pay to join. You can join and just enjoy the local community. Talking all things Tau. We've got list chats. We've got meme chats. We've got TTS resources. And you've got a like-minded community that just want to talk about Tau. We've got lore, everything like that. Everything about this faction is there available to you. But obviously, if you're wanting to be a better general, you're wanting to improve, whether that's you are starting out in the hobby, I've started to add to my content within the Patreon side of things to do short, digestible videos on some of the basic core fundamentals of playing Tau. You know, I've done these small 20-minute videos that are displaying how to plan for terrain, you know, how to build list concepts, how to start from 1,000 points, 1,500 points, 2,000. I've also done videos on the WTC terrain and the UKTC terrain, then the GW terrain, and I'm also going to do one on the Frontline Gaming fixed terrain that's out. I'm going to be doing videos that are going to be on guiding and spotting, lots of different core basic concepts that can really help you as a big new person coming into a very complex game. And I know GW said we want to make it simple, simplified, not simple, but it is still quite a lot to take on board. Then when you talk about the other elements of the Patreon side of things, we've got the Shas Brain, we've got the Shas L. Now, we do live calls every single kind of week, very much. We've got the list building calls, we've got Quiz the Commander, we've got Hobby Hangout, we've got Demonstration Day. Then when you go into the Shas L tier, we do real in-depth analysis of the meta and what you need to plan for to be able to win an event, podium, or just genuinely improve your skill set as a general on the tabletop. So honestly, it's evolving. I can't thank my community enough. It's amazing what this year has done for me and my business, and I couldn't have done it without the support of you guys, so I really do appreciate it. And honestly, if you're wanting to join up, please check out the description below. If you sign up to Shas L, or a chassel, I will welcome each individual personally with a welcome call, and I will have a quick discussion around where you are in your journey and how it is that I can help. I still do coaching available to my Patreons as well on a separate side thing for one-to-one. So if you do want to sign up for that, come and private message me on the Discord. There's going to be lots of things that I'm planning, and I'm going to be announcing some exciting things for May. And I'm going to be doing a prize giveaway as well, which I'm not going to tell you more about now. I'm going to keep it secret, but there's going to be some big activity coming in May. But anyway, I hope you've enjoyed this video. Please, please, please help me out on the YouTube algorithm. Like, comment, subscribe, and let me know your thoughts. You know, have you had some decent success recently? What kind of lists have you been running? You know, what are you kind of struggling with at the moment? Where do you need your help? And like I said, you know, click on the link below, come and join the Discord, and honestly, it'll be a journey that you won't regret. So without further ado, you know, take care, Talva, and I'll speak to you all soon. Thank you very much.